I welcome you guys back into my next video over here, and I understand that, guys, when you look at yourself in the mirror, for example, you understand that this is a mirror. You understand that you're looking at my mirror. You're looking at my image. You understand? Because this is I, although you have an image as well. And now when you go on video camera and you start to perform and you start to really talk it out and start to give some ideas and start to benefit yourself in communication like I am today, you understand one aspect of life. You will be growing. You're growing now because you understand that you're watching me because I'm giving you ideas. Although understand that these ideas will only grow you if you take action upon it. So realize that today I went into my mirror and I was watching my mirror before and I'm watching my mirror now. I'm always watching I'm always watching myself. You understand? Because if I take a look at somebody else over I then start to be inspired by those people more than myself. Because I understand the biggest inspiration in my life is Jesus Christ. You understand? And then it's I in Jesus Christ. Although I have to understand that it's my I. Whereas my Jesus Christ is my I. You understand? So I understand to go with Jesus and listen to Jesus. Because that way Jesus is going to say, you put yourself first and make sure that you're your biggest inspiration. And that's what Jesus says. Because without Jesus, you have to understand that this world will fall apart. You have to understand that when you go into the mirror, you stay in the mirror and you watch yourself in the mirror for all time's sake. You understand why? Because you're going to get stronger. You're going to get stronger physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually and communicationally. You're going to have more finances and financially you're going to get stronger. You understand? Because you're watching yourself in the mirror. And now, a type of mirror just like this, where you can just watch yourself, for example. Although, watch yourself with your unique image. And now when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're going to understand something. You can pleasurize yourself in the mirror. You can masturbate to yourself in the mirror. I do. I masturbate to myself in the mirror, although you have to understand why. Because I understand that when I masturbate to myself in the mirror, I'm not focusing on anybody else but myself. Understand? Because when I do that, I'm also growing in my own image. And I'm loving just myself. Understand? Although if I was to masturbate to somebody else without my image, I would fall into ego. You understand? Because I need to watch my image when I do so. Or is that when I watch my image, or it's much better to watch my image than to watch somebody else's image while I masturbate. You understand? So understand that it's much better for you to masturbate to your own image in the mirror than to watch other people having sex and masturbating to them. Because that way you're going to build self-love. You're going to be self-loving. And you're going to find out where your ego is. Because you can only find out the ego and you can only overcome the ego when you're watching yourself in the mirror more. Alright, now, since I'm a fashion model, you have to understand that I'm a fashion model. And now I go and brand myself as much as I can, and I take photos as much as I can of myself, so that I can go and look at 700 photos of myself a day. You understand? Because when I look at myself all day long, I grow love for myself. I start to inspire myself. I start to become far more than I used to be. Alright, now, because I look at myself every single day, I get more motivated. So I understand that now I've set some rules in place to understand that when I wake up, I have a mirror next to my bed and I look at myself in the mirror right away. And I just look at myself in the mirror. I look at myself in the mirror so that I can understand who I am and so that I can see how I feel in the moment and so that I can overcome the ego to wake up and get out of bed and start planning something. Or is that no matter what, that it's also nice for you to do so. You have to understand that if you don't like your image, or if you don't like somebody else taking photos of themselves, it's because you're egotistical. I had a recent guy who, just here in Busby, in terms of Sydney, I was taking some photos, and the guy's like, there are cameras around here, man. And like, he's talking with somebody else to stab me or something, because I'm taking photos of myself. Although he came up to me and he said, what are you doing, man? And he's been telling me to go away and all of this. Although I said, I'm just doing my business. I'm loving myself over here by taking photos of myself. And he says, why? I say, I have a lot of business online. And I gave him a nice, beautiful business card of mine. And he just left. You have to understand that this guy is very arrogant about myself taking photos of myself because he never does that. You understand? So every time I take more photos of myself, I actually love myself even more. So I'm not scared to show you my hair. You understand, for example? I'm not scared to show you that I eventually have braids with my hair. You understand? Because I'm growing my hair to have braids. Understand? So realize that no matter what, that I'm always doing something fashionable. I'm always doing something that's unique. You understand? I leave my hair, in terms of my beard, to grow this way so that I can go and make a rat's tail coming down. I realize that it's just a nice way to say that I have to look new all the time. I have to do something new. So I do something in the new always to make sure that every single time I tell you something and I give you some knowledge about myself, you're going to find out. Although understand that you have to always be consistent with my content, and you have to understand that my content is going to lead you somewhere greater, because I give you the ideas that you need every single day. Although I understand that when I speak 1 hour into a video, I realize I give you all my information for the day. And it means that I give you my best, I give you my whole heart, and I make sure that every single idea that I ever grabbed today, so far, that you have it. Because that way it's in video. And that way I understand that I was just recently inside of my toilet watching myself in the mirror for a few hours. And I understand that you have to understand this, that when you eat something and drink something, you go into the mirror and eat and drink and watch yourself in the mirror while you eat and drink. Because then you're going to be aware of your ego. You understand? Because you're not aware of your ego while you're eating and drinking, while not watching yourself. You understand? I promise you, especially if you eat and drink and then watch a TV show, or you're watching wrestling, or you're watching Netflix and you're eating, or you're watching a TV show or some advertisement while you're eating, you just lose yourself. You understand? So what's the whole point of that? I realized that I used to do this. I used to go and eat something, and then I used to watch wrestling. And that's the worst, because I was focusing on other people and on food rather than myself. And I wasn't teaching anything. I realized that was the biggest fail. You understand? And then I started to watch YouTube. Although this time I started to watch YouTube in terms of business mindset and entrepreneurship and information-driven aspects of YouTube, where I may learn spirituality and business and sales and marketing and also personal development. And I ate also. And while I'm doing this, I'm listening to the information. You understand? So I'm growing myself, although I may eat a bit and then write something down about what I'm learning. And now I'm growing. And this is me focusing on myself rather than the food. You understand? And this is how I grew a nice, beautiful development of my self-love for myself. And I got rid of the wrestling. I didn't watch wrestling for a while, or about 5 years, or 6 years, or 8 years. I didn't watch wrestling much. Understand? Because I grew out of it to go and write notes while I read and eat. And I just write quotes, and I write my journal, and I write about my day, and about what people are saying while I eat something. And now you can do that. You can do that because you're not focusing on the food and other people only. So if you're teaching something, you can always do pleasure while you're teaching. Although if you're not teaching anything and you do pleasure, you die. And that's why Jesus says, do not live by pleasure alone. Because if you live by pleasure alone, you'll die. Although if you live by pleasure alone while teaching, you will live longer. And you'll be better than yesterday. Because if you see Jesus, well, Jesus didn't live by bread alone. Because bread is a significance of pleasure. So when you look at bread, you eat the bread, you understand that it's pleasure. Whereas Jesus didn't just eat pleasure, and Jesus didn't just go and eat food around. Whereas Jesus went to teach the Bible. Understand? Because the Bible teaching is how Jesus grew, and not by the eating of the bread. So understand, you never ever live by bread alone. Because if you live by bread alone, you never ever teach anything. So that's what most people are doing today in the planet, and they're living by bread alone. And it means that the 99% of the world who is not teaching much about their life. And they don't love themselves. Although understand that Jesus ate bread and taught something. Understand? And that's what I'm doing today. I'm teaching something while I'm eating bread. And understand that no matter what, I'm eating bread so that I can grow. Although understand that I eat bread only because I teach something. I live to teach, and not because I eat bread. I don't care about the pleasures of this world. I care about Jesus and his work. I care about what Jesus done in the world. Because I understand Jesus is so strong with his wisdom. And I understand that Jesus wrote the Bible because he had disciples write it for him. And now understand that the disciples also grew because of Jesus. And everything is growing because of Jesus. Because Jesus is the first teacher of the planet. Although understand right now, I get up in the mirror, and no matter what I eat, I go eat it in the mirror now. And I don't even watch business entrepreneurship anymore. I don't watch YouTube while I eat anymore. I don't go and read audiobooks or I don't even listen to music from other people while I eat anymore. I realize what I do. I get up in front of the mirror. So my mirror can be also my phone. I might get my phone out and I may start eating in front of my face. And I start eating and I'm just watching myself while I eat, for example. And what this does is it helps me to focus just on myself without the pleasure. I mean, there's no pleasure involved when you're watching yourself. So no matter what kind of pleasure it is, I mean, you could be having sex with another woman or man, you understand? And you have to understand that no matter what, you may be having sex with women or men. Although when you're having sex with women or men, you're watching yourself more than them. And that's called self-love. Although if you're watching other people more than yourself, you realize and it realizes, and you'll understand that it realizes that you understand that it's living by bread alone. That if you watch other people more than yourself, you are living by bread alone. So Jesus said, do not live by bread alone. You understand? So what's the whole deal? Realize that you can have sex with other people. You can have everything of the pleasures of the world. Although, watch yourself in the mirror while you do it. Whereas you go and have sex with women and men, but watch yourself in the mirror and get yourself a mirror and have sex in the mirror and watch yourself only. And do not watch who you're having sex with. Because that's called self-love. And now, what do I do with my food and drink? I go into the mirror now. And I put my own music on. I put my own music because I'm a music producer. So I don't listen to other people's music anymore because it's called self-love. Or else I have my own music to play. I make my own music. So I listen to my own music. And that's called self-love. I'll never listen to your music, even if you play it. And now, if there is music around and suddenly you play your music, I may listen to it one time only. I mean max. Because Albert Einstein said, do not listen to other people's music more than one time. And that includes you. I mean, do not listen to my music more than one time. Because one time is more than enough. You understand? Although if you keep repeating my track 50 million times, you'll start to fall in love with me more than yourself. Otherwise, if you repeat your track 50 million times, you'll fall in love only with yourself. Otherwise, if you are a music producer and you have 50,000 million tracks, you only listen to your music and you'll never listen to their music. You get? Otherwise, if you have 50 million tracks and you're a music producer and you listen to other people's tracks more than yours, otherwise it's because you don't love yourself. You understand why now I listen to my music? And I don't listen to other people's music on Spotify anymore. And I unsubscribe from Spotify. And I understand that many people are on Spotify now in terms of music artists and life coaches and personal development gurus who are doing all these podcasts and everything in terms of audio on Spotify. And again, ripped off. Whereas each and every single time you may upload the track, whereas they charge you $25 to just have it up there. And nobody else cares about it. I mean, who are you trying to impress? I mean, the views in terms of what you get on Spotify doesn't really matter. Because those people are never with you. I mean, it's the same thing as Cristiano Ronaldo, who goes and plays in Barcelona and Real Madrid and Manchester United. And every single week he plays, full stadiums come to watch him. Although when he walks away from football, those crowds will never be around him. And why? Because it's all fake news. Understand? Whereas what's the real news? I mean, the real news is go where it's affordable. And realize that most countries today cannot even afford $25 a day. And understand Spotify. Understand? I mean, the $25 to upload one track. Whereas 90% of the world lives on $10 a day. I mean, 90% of the world in 2020 lives on $10 a day. Understand? You have to understand that no matter what, that 99% of the world today is in debt. Or they're in debt. And 1% of the world is the millionaires and the billionaires and the ones who are healthier and who have a plus and a surplus to their name. Or I'm one of them who is the surplus. I have a surplus right now that says I have no debt. I've given all my debt in terms of I've repaid my debt. I've recapitalized on my debt. I've overcame my debt. You understand? I have no more debt in my life. I'm a free agent. I'm a free agent. So understand that no matter what, that when I go in the mirror now, I go and really, really understand this now. You go and eat food and drink in a mirror. And have yourself a mirror. And even just take out your phone and watch yourself. Really. And do not take your eyes off yourself while you are either teaching or while you're doing anything. Do not take out your eye. You understand? I mean, do not go and look at something else while you're eating. I mean, do not look at the food more than yourself. I mean, do not look at the outside world more than yourself. I mean, do not look at me more than yourself. I mean, go in the mirror and eat and really look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, do not look at anything else. And you're going to find out where your ego is. Your ego is going to say, opium, or something like that. I mean, do you understand what opium is? I mean, you have to understand that opium is a drug. Although sometimes you have to understand that thoughts just come and go. You understand? And that's called schizophrenia, where you may hear a thought or something like that. Although understand that it's your ego and it's not schizophrenia. Although understand that everybody has schizophrenia to a certain extent. And now realize this, I'm not schizophrenic. You understand? I'm not schizophrenic. Although understand that a thought may jump into equation, and then what you do is you write it down right away. You write it down and you write your thoughts down on paper or in video or in audio, and that way you'll be less of a schizophrenic. You get it? Because I was a schizophrenic before. And why was I schizophrenic? Because I never wrote things down. I never planned anything. You understand? Before. Although I'm planning always more now, I have more plans than ever now. I'm always planning my life. Although I understand that before I was very fat. And in order for me to lose fat and weight, I have to study something. I have to study nutrition. I have to start taking action. I have to start reading something to develop myself. Because if I don't develop myself at class 2 diabetes and class 2 obesity, because that was back then, you have to understand that I have no diabetes now. Although I understand that when you're obese, you have I realize if you're obese today, you understand that you have a health risk to achieve diabetes, class 2 and 3 and 4, and whatever the classes are today. Although I understand that the best way to lose weight is look at yourself in the mirror more. And I mean a mirror. I mean, get yourself a mirror and look at yourself all day long. And just stay there in the toilet for 24 hours every single day. You're going to learn something really quickly. You're going to learn how to love yourself really quickly. And you're going to learn how to love thyself and how to lose the weight and how to overcome your life and how to overcome your situation and how to overcome the drug addicts in terms of the drugs in life that you may take, in terms of alcohol and medications and caffeine and white sugars and meat. You'll overcome it if you look yourself in the mirror every single day. And then what do? You have all these thoughts, and then you talk it out with yourself in the mirror, but write it down too. And now, I was a schizophrenic because I was not writing my thoughts down. And now, when you don't write your thoughts down, suddenly all these voices apparently start coming into your head. And they're voices, or they're thoughts, you understand? And then you have to grab the thoughts and write it down. And then you empty the mind, you empty your ego into paper, and you start teaching something. And you start giving more and more and more, and that's when your business propels forward. And what is the business module today? Well, the business module today is giving. And the more you can give, the better your business. Whereas that those people who do not give are the ones who live by bread alone. Whereas they're the ones who just seek pleasure from you and materialistic aspects. So if I come up to you and let's say I'm never a materialistic aspect of life, although if somebody comes up to you, for example, I realize they just want your laptop. I realize they just want you to be around because they need to use your laptop. I realize they just want you around because you have accommodation. I mean, they just want you around because you have a heater. I mean, they just love you because you have a fridge. I mean, they just love you because you can drive them somewhere. I mean, that's that. I mean, that's and that. I mean, that is that and that's that. In terms of that is that. Whereas those people just use you for your materialistic aspects of what you have outside of you. In terms of pillow, I mean, they love you because of a pillow. You can give them a pillow. Otherwise, they love you because you can give them a drink or you can give them some plastic money to go and get their clothing, and you can give them plastic money to go and travel the world. And that's why they love you. I mean, that's more, otherwise that's all materialistic. Although, understand, they love you because of the materialistic aspects and not because of the spiritual aspects. And now the spiritual aspects has got to do with Jesus Christ. And that's got to do with I love you for what you can teach me. I love you for what you can teach me. I love you because you do lead. I love you because you are better than yesterday. I love you because you understand me. I love you because you have ideas to give me. I love you because you just love to communicate with me and develop yourself. I love you because you understand who you are. I understand who you are every single day, and that's why I love you, because we're both empathy. I understand that when we don't have to touch each other, or else we can always have a meaningful conversation. Or else that's spiritual love. Or else now, materialistic aspects looks like this. Or else the person comes up to you and says, "Where's your car?" And you say, "It's over there." And they ask you, "Are you able to let me use the car?" Or else then you say yes, and then they use your car. Or else that's called materialistic aspects of life. And that's what I do with my biological dad. Understand? Because I use him for his materialistic aspects. I mean, you have to understand that those people who have materialistic aspects are the ones who can give you that, or they understand that they cannot grow you spiritually. So listen to this now. I realize that me and my father, in terms of my biological father, I am much better than everything else. I'm much better than my biological father. I'm much better than everything. So I put myself first, as Jesus said. I realize that no matter what, that I realize my biological father is materialistic, and so is my biological mother. And now they will give me everything in terms of the outside world. I realize that they will give me some plastic money to go and travel somewhere. I realize that they will give me plastic money and also accommodation for free in terms of the outside world. I realize you see this outside world accommodation. I realize that's outside of me, because I have an inner world, and my inner world is in my body, and that's the spiritual world. Although they can give me the outside world. Otherwise, they can give me a laptop. Otherwise, they can give me some pillows. Otherwise, they can give me a fridge. Understand? Otherwise, they can give me some food and drink. Otherwise, they can give me toilets. Otherwise, they can give me a shower. Otherwise, that's all materialistic. Otherwise, my biological father and mother are very successful here. Otherwise, they're middle class. Although, understand that's what middle class aspects is in the outside realm. Although, understand this, that my biological father can never ever give me spiritual aspects. Although he does give me a bit. Whereas he gives me 1% of the spiritual world and 99% of the materialistic world. Whereas my biological father gives me 99% of the materialistic aspects and 1% the spiritual aspects. And that way, you understand that everybody around me does this. Whereas that the whole neighborhood of Busby, where I live, and Liverpool, and Sydney, and my biological family, and everybody, in terms of who is not me except Jesus and my mentors, can give me the materialistic aspects 99% of the time and 1% of the time spiritual aspects. And now you have to understand that I'm surrounded by people who are materialistic. Understand? I'm not materialistic, although this is what I can give you. I just give you 100% of the spiritual aspects. I never give you anything about the materialistics. I'll never give you plastic money. I'll never give you plastic money, even if you ask me. Because I understand that plastic money will never achieve growth for you. I'll never give you food and drink, because that's materialistic aspects. I'll never give you food and drink, so never ask me for it. You understand? I realize that I'll even do this with my kids. You understand? I even do it with everybody now. You understand? I realize that a homeless person may come and ask for some change. I'll give them a business card. I'll give them a business card because it has over 700 hours of video content that's going to teach them the Jesus lifestyle, which is spiritual aspects. And that's pure growth. And that's what makes you happier. And that's eternal life. You have to understand that I'm the type of individual and the father of life. They will give you what Jesus can. I mean, Jesus will never ever give you anything of this world in terms of the outside world. Whereas Jesus will never give you materialistic aspects. Because what is the Bible? Whereas the Bible is full of information. And that's what I give you. I give you full of information, and that's called spirituality. Whereas that Jesus left the Bible here. And Jesus is a spiritual teacher. And now understand that the Bible is full of teachings. And that's what I give you too. Whereas now teachings in terms of the Bible and wisdom is spiritual. So if you look at the Bible, for example, whereas Jesus is 100% spiritual and never materialistic. Because Jesus says in the Bible that you shall not own this world, although you shall own and learn eternity and be in eternity all your life. Because what is eternity? Realize it's the Bible of Jesus. And now what is the Bible of Jesus? Realize it's called wisdom. Realize it's called teachings. Otherwise, it's called this information I'm giving you. And that's coming from the Bible of Jesus Christ right now. Because Jesus is the first teacher of the planet right now. And then you have to understand that the more you teach Jesus in terms of spirituality, the richer you are. Now, I don't care about the pillow because I don't care about the outside accommodation. I care about the spiritual world. I care about never touching you. I care about never giving you anything in a materialistic world. I'll never give you a car to drive. I'll never give you some plastic money so you can feed your family. I'll never give you food and drink so that you can feed your family. Probably Jesus will never do that for you either. Probably what Jesus will give you is spiritual aspects and teachings on how you can make more food and drink and materialistic aspects. You understand? Although you'll understand quickly that it's not the materialistic aspects that you need. And what you really need is a spiritual world. And now in the spiritual world, you cannot touch anything. Otherwise, there's nothing to touch in the spiritual world. So what is spiritual today? You hear the silence? I mean, how are you supposed to touch silence? I mean, how are you supposed to grab silence? You can never even grab it. Otherwise, that's eternity. Otherwise, that's spiritual. And it's always around you. Otherwise, what else can you not touch? You see the air? You can never touch the air. You can never touch it because that's eternal. And that's called spirituality. So the silence in the air is spiritual. I mean, that's what you are. Although, what else can you not touch? You cannot touch my words. Whereas my words you can never touch. You can hear them, although you can never grab my words and steal it from me. Whereas that's called eternity. Whereas that's called what Jesus left here in his Bible. I mean, full of words. I mean, how are you supposed to grab those words from Jesus? I mean, you can never steal the words of Jesus. I mean, you can never steal it. You can read it. You can never steal it from him. Understand? Because in the Bible it says, thou shalt not steal. And you can never steal Jesus' words. You can never steal my words. I can give you my words. You can never steal them from me. Understand? And now that's the third way to understand what eternity is, or spirituality, which is silence and air and words. And now look at my image. Otherwise, does my image touch you? Otherwise, you have to understand that my image, you can never grab it. You can try to kill me for the image, you never have it. You understand that my image is always going to be my image, and you can never grab it from me. I mean, how are you supposed to grab my image from me? You can kill me right now. Although, how are you supposed to grab that image from me? You can never grab the image. You see a pillow? I mean, that's an image. I mean, images never hurt you. Or else silence never hurts you. Or else silence will never hurt you. Or else air will never hurt you. Or else images will never hurt you. Or else words will never hurt you. Or else now, those people who get offended by words are the ones who are not spiritual. And they're the ones who are materialistic. And now, my biological father gets really angry when I start to tap in his mindset about spirituality. And about smarts and about how to live life. And he says, shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of my house if you speak like this. Understand? Because my biological father doesn't understand words and communication and spirituality, because he'd rather me say, I'll give you $500 and make sure you go over there. And he'll say, I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. Whereas I have to talk to him in a way that I can give him some materialistic aspects. Although, guess what? I never give him any materialistic aspects. I realize, why is that? Because I give him something better than that. I give him peace and quiet. I never go up to him. I never talk to him. I only ask him a question. I let him be. And that's what I do. You understand? I realize that now, my biological father may come into the room and start fixing the air conditioner. Whereas now, when he's fixing the air conditioner, he may put some water in there and some ice so that it can work, so that it can blow on me or something like that. Although he's not teaching me anything there. And now, the other day, he actually went to the air conditioner and he said, this is a nice idea, you have to understand. And he goes and grabs these ice buckets, or it's really an ice bag, you understand? And it's really thick and it's also really hard. And there's ice in it, you understand? And then he gets a little bucket and puts the 2 blocks of ice in there. Although the ice is inside this bottle and it's thick and it's icy. and he puts 2 ice blocks inside the water, and he puts it inside the air condition. And now he taught me something there. As he taught me spirituality there, while he's giving me materialistic aspects. And now he grew from that. I grew from that too, because he gave me some ideas about that. Although if he just goes and puts it in the machine and turns on the machine so it blows, I realize he didn't teach me anything. You get? Whereas if I go and you're on the laptop and I go open the laptop for you, I never taught you anything, did I? Because that's the same aspect of my biological father, where he may go to the air condition, because he has before, and he puts the fridge here as well. Understand? He puts the fridge there as well, and he never taught me anything about the fridge. Otherwise, I just came into the room and the fridge is here. Otherwise, there's no teaching. Otherwise, there's no teaching there. Although he believes somehow that this is going to help me in terms of the fridge. Otherwise, he believes in materialistic aspects to help you. Otherwise, he believes in materialistic aspects to help you. Because materialistic aspects can never help you. Otherwise, what grows you is not material from outside the world. Otherwise, it's Jesus' Bible that teaches you. Otherwise, it's words. Otherwise, it's images. I realize it's silence. I realize it's the air that you breathe. Otherwise, food and drinks never teaches you anything. Otherwise, now, I chuck food at you and you start eating. Otherwise, did I teach you anything? I taught you nothing. I taught you nothing in that. I give you a phone. Otherwise, that's called spoiling. And now, you have to understand that my biological family, in terms of my biological mum and dad, and my other biological family, are spoilers. And what a spoiler is, in this term, is they give you some material aspects so that it can comfort you. And so that you can be in your comfort zone. Otherwise, they give you a pillow. And they say, I just got you this pillow. Otherwise, now you can sleep. Otherwise, the pillow doesn't make me sleep. Otherwise, the pillow doesn't make me sleep. You understand? Otherwise, the couch doesn't make me sleep. I realize that this outside accommodation doesn't make me sleep. You have to understand that what they're saying is that they believe that the comfort zone is the way. And it's not the comfort zone, because the pillow is the comfort zone. Because anything that you touch is a comfort zone. So understand that if I touch myself like this, I realize this is my comfort zone. I realize that in eternity, you can never touch yourself. You can never be touched. I can never touch you, you can never touch me. I realize why? Because it's called eternity and spirituality. And it's really ghosts. Because it's all ghosts. I mean, silence is ghost. Because silence is the Holy Ghost. You understand? Otherwise, now sound. Is sound able to hurt you? Otherwise, sound is eternal. The sound of life is eternal as well. You understand? So the sounds and the songs, which lets the sound play out as well, is eternal. Because that can never hurt you. I can scream into your face. You can never be hurt. I can go, ah, in your ear. You can never be hurt. You can never hurt yourself. Understand? Although you'll understand that if you go where loud music is and it blows your ears off, otherwise you'll never blow your ears off. Otherwise you can never go deaf. You can never go deaf in life. Otherwise there's no such thing as being deaf and blind in life. Although what else is eternal in life? Otherwise it's called your feelings too. Otherwise it's how you feel on a daily basis. Otherwise now if you're poisoning your temple, as the Jesus says, you understand that Jesus says, do not poison your temple with alcohol and drugs and caffeine and cigarettes and white poisons in terms of white sugar and salt. Salt is a poison too. Although a bit of salt, you can. Although understand that if you have too much salt or too much food and drink or too much of the outside world in terms of the pleasures, you will die. So what does Jesus say? Or does Jesus says, go and delay gratification as much as you can. So understand that no matter what, you can now understand that Jesus is eternal, and that means that Jesus will never touch you. I will never touch you. Because what we're going to do in eternity is we're going to speak with each other. And we're going to speak with each other in a way that we're never going to touch each other, although we're going to be in eternity and live life in peace, and with images, and with teachings, and with kindness and respect, and it's going to be pure leadership. where we're just growing together. And that's eternal. I realize that's eternal life. And we're going to experience feeling while we're there. And now feeling, in terms of how you feel. So you may feel really happy. And now you didn't take the drugs to feel happier, because drugs don't make you happier. Because anything outside of you is either drugs or medication or food and drink or the pillow or the laptop is outside of you. Because what's outside of you is called the materialistic aspects of life. You understand? I realize this Apple Watch, for example, I realize it buzzes me. Although you have to understand that it doesn't fulfill me. I realize that laptop doesn't fulfill me. Although when I use it to fulfill me, I make sure to go and learn something from it. I learn from the outside world and what it is. Because anything that's outside there is inside. Because you have to understand that you have to succeed inside, as Jesus said. You have to succeed inside. So to succeed inside, you never go outside. You have to understand that eternity is here. Although understand this, that when I look at myself in the mirror, I go and I eat food and drink in the mirror to watch my image. Because my image is more important than your image. So if you ever get ashamed because somebody else picked another image over yours, you have to understand, you go love yourself anyway. Understand? Whereas now, you have to understand that the whole point of being here is to understand spirituality and to understand to never give other people anything in terms of materialistic aspects, because it's not going to help you. And it's not going to help them. Although it's blessed to give material. And when you give material, you never ask for it back. Otherwise, it's like me going up to you and giving you $20 plastic money the first year, and then 10 years later, you find me on the street somewhere asking for that $20 in material in terms of the plastic money that I gave you, because you owe me now. I mean, you can understand that I never even rose between. I realize if that ever happened, that means that I never even rose higher than that amount. Although, guess what? I rise above every single amount because I'm priceless. Understand? So never go asking people for a refund of plastic money and the outside world. So if you give them your laptop and they run away with it and they never see you again, you forget it. Or if they steal your stuff in terms of the plastic world and the outside world in materialistic, and they steal your phone and your ID and your money in terms of your plastic money, which is not even spiritual, because you have to understand that you're never going to take the phone and the laptop and the outside accommodation here and the fridge over here. You're never taking it into your grave. Or else, what are you taking into your grave though? You're going with the silence? You're going with the air. You're going there with the air. You're going to go with the images. You're going to go there with the images. You're going to go there with your soul, which is Jesus' Bible, which is the information you talk every single day. You're going to go there with that. You're going to go there with your feelings. And you're going to go there with your sounds. You understand the sounds of life? And Jesus is going to meet you in there. You understand? I mean, Jesus is going to meet you in eternity. And you have to understand that is how it goes. You understand? And then realize that you're going to be in the grave at peace. And nobody else is going to touch you anymore. And nobody else is going to make you suffer anymore. And the world's pleasures is not going to make you suffer anymore. And you're going to be in pure bliss and peace with Jesus. And you're going to understand why eternity is the only, or you're going to realize why eternity is the ultimate way. You're going to understand that this life is a test. You're going to understand that whatever Jesus did before, you have to understand people killed him. And why did people kill him? Because they believe in the outside world more than Jesus. Understand? Because when you kill somebody, you have to understand it's called pleasure. You understand? If I have to touch you, you have to understand it's called not spirituality. You understand? So if I have to touch you, I realize that means that I can kill you. I realize now Jesus will never touch you in the first place. And that means Jesus will never kill you. So what's eternal is something that you can never touch. You can never steal it. You can never grab it. Otherwise it's invisible. Otherwise, that's the best way to say it. Otherwise, anything that's invisible is the best way. And now you can call the images of life invisible. Otherwise, I mean, when it's invisible, I mean, you can never describe it. You can never describe my image because it's invisible. I mean, how are you supposed to describe my image? I mean, how are you supposed to describe what you see there? Otherwise, it's an image. Although, is it really an image? Realize it's just something that you can never even touch. You can even touch the images. I realize that my image is right in your face. I realize it's just like a 3D and 5-dimensional. Understand? You can never even grab it. You can never even grab my image. I mean, how am I supposed to grab my image? Understand? I realize that's what eternity is. So if you try to go in the water, for example, and you try to grab the water, you'll never be able to grab the water. You'll never be able to grab the air, for example. And now the grass, you grab that, I realize if you grab the grass, I mean, how are you really grabbing it? Or else you grab the pillow? I mean, are you really grabbing it? You're not even grabbing the pillow. I mean, how are you supposed to grab the pillow? I mean, you grab the pillow, although did you really? You never even grabbed the pillow. I mean, how are you supposed to touch that? You can never even touch it. I mean, that's not even called touching it. Well, that's not touching it. Understand? Although that's called the world, as we see it. Because anything you can touch in this world is worldly. And that means pleasure. Whereas now, since I have a pillow here, I realize it's called pleasure. And I can feel it. I can touch it right here, and it feels comfortable. Whereas it feels like pleasure. Otherwise, I can see it feels like pleasure. I touch it, the pillow, and I really feel comfortable. Understand? Although I'm never comfortable. Because why? Because I'm growing spiritually all the time. I'm spiritual. And now, some people come up to me on the street when I do a street performance, and they go to shake my hand. I say, I'll never touch you. I never touch you because Jesus said to never touch other people. And then they say, oh, you're the first person that's taught me that. You have to understand though, that if I touch you, that means that I have to kill you. Or that I never have to kill you, so I never touch you. Yeah? You have to understand that Jesus said, follow the 10 commandments of God, which is thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not lie. Understand? Because what do liars do, for example? I mean, liars are the ones who love the materialistic aspects of life more. I mean, they're the ones who cut the eye off. And now Jesus says, do not cut your eye off. And thy love themselves. So if you don't have your I have a dream to understand that you must never cut your eye off. Understand? Because this is 2 eyes here. Although there's one, I love you. I love you. You never cut your eye. You never cut this eye here. You never cut this eye. You never cut your hair. You have to understand, your hair, you can cut your hair off because why? Because it's not going to kill you. You can cut off anything that's not going to kill you. You can trim your beard and your hair will grow back. Understand? Although, do you pull your hair? You don't pull your hair. You don't pull your hair. You don't rip your hair off out of your socket. Understand? You don't rip your eye out. You don't rip your hair off. Because if you rip your hair off, you'll rip your eye off too. You understand? Or else if you rip your arm off, it's like ripping your hair off. You understand? Because it hurts. Or else you have to understand, you always do. Although do not hurt yourself. And that's what Jesus says. Or else that when Jesus says do not cut your eye out, or else Jesus says do not hurt yourself. And then Jesus says thy love themselves. Because that's what people do who do not cut their eye off. And those who do not cut themselves off throughout life are the ones who are focusing on themselves every single day and thy loving themselves. Because when you love yourself, you'll never cut your eye off. You understand? You never hurt yourself. You never rip your hair off. You never rip your nose off. You never cut your eye. You never cut your fingers. Understand? Because if you cut your fingers, it's like cutting yourself to hurt yourself. So never hurt yourself. And that's why Jesus says, thy love themselves, or love yourself, or know thyself, which is self-love. So the more you love yourself, the less you hurt yourself, and the more you understand Jesus. Because Jesus never cut himself, and Jesus always loved himself. So the more you can love yourself, the more you can understand Jesus. And that's why I go into the mirror now, and I eat food and drink in the mirror. I mean, why? Because I can look at my image. I can look at my face. And I love my face so much that I have to eat my food and drink now in the actual mirror. Because why? Because I'd rather eat food and drink watching myself than other people. I'd rather do that. I'd rather do myself a great favor here to go in the mirror to watch myself eat. And just that. And I talk to myself in the mirror. Understand? And now it's a private talk. I can also tape it. Although I understand that I just talk with myself for now. I understand that I go in the mirror, I talk to myself, and I eat, and I figure out where my ego is. And you have to find this out, that the more you look at yourself in the mirror, the more you're going to love yourself. And understand that if I go into YouTube and start eating and watching other people, I'm only watching other people for what? I'm here to watch other people to grow only. So if I have to grow to watch other people while doing pleasure to watch other people, I will learn something from them. I will write something down to teach myself something about what I see. And that's the only reason I do that. Whereas if I just go on YouTube to eat and drink and just watch people and entertain myself without teaching anything, or else that's called selfishness. And selfishness is also a disease. You understand? Because understand that selflessness is teaching somebody something. So understand that I only do that if I have to eat something and drink something while watching other people, while pleasurizing myself, it is only to teach something to somebody. So what do? I get the phone out, I start writing quotes, I start writing in my journal while I eat and watch YouTube in terms of business entrepreneurship and leadership by people who are doing that and who are really successful. I write notes based on what they say, and then I teach myself something while I eat and drink. And now, while you're eating and drinking, you must be teaching yourself. Otherwise, Jesus says you are living by bread alone. And this means that those people who live by bread alone are the ones who are egotistical and materialistic, and they're never learning and they're never growing. And they're never teaching anybody anything, and they're selfish. In a way that it is, they get up on YouTube or Netflix and they watch and eat the TV show and watch the TV show, and they're not teaching anything. I mean, they're just there to watch the TV show. And they're not even recognizing you, that you're next to them. And that's called materialistic aspects of life. Where I sit with you, for example, and if somebody sits with you and just watches the television for 5 hours without saying a word to you, you understand they are materialistic. Understand? Because that's called materialistic. Because what are they really doing? Because they're giving you 5 hours of silence, and they're not talking to you, and they're not teaching anything. Although they're observing and saying, huh, and watching something, although they're never really teaching you about what they're watching, and they're not teaching you about what they're interested in either, even when they go, huh. I mean, something happens and they go, huh. Although they'll never teach you why they did that. Understand? And that's why they're materialistic, because they don't teach you that. Or else they're not teaching you anything, although they're just sitting with you. And that's not called love either. Or else, although understand that materialistic aspects is not love. Understand? Or else Jesus' Bible is love. Why? Why? I say tri prista. Understand? Although understand, tri prista means 3 fingers, although that's something different. You have to understand Jesus' lifestyle in terms of the Bible is teaching you something. Although Jesus is teaching all the time. Is he? Or is he not? Or else Jesus is always teaching you. Understand? Because no matter what, even when you're watching television, Jesus is in the back of your head and saying this in the Bible. And it's holding you up. Understand? Because without Jesus' teachings, or else everybody will be pleasure only. I mean, without without Jesus in this lifestyle, or else everything turns to pleasure only, and there's no eternity anymore. And you'll never be aware of the silence, and you'll never be aware of eternity in terms of the air you breathe, and you'll never be aware of the images you see, and you'll never be aware of the feelings that you feel. You'll be cut off from eternity, because Jesus came here to teach eternity and said, you are saved. I mean, there's eternal life. You shall not eat by bread alone, and you must also love thyself. And now Jesus showed you a great example of what eternity is. And now eternity is no sex with other people. And why is that? Because Jesus is teaching you something here to say sex with other people is not the way of spirituality. Because when you have sex with other people, I realize that's called worldly pleasures. And Jesus only went to worldly pleasures with food and drink. So when you understand to overcome the world's aspects, you'll teach the Bible of Jesus, because understand it's about teaching something and not being materialistic. Because Jesus didn't own anything of this world. You understand? Because Jesus didn't own anything and never ever owned accommodation in terms of the outside world, and never ever gave any type of materials. Otherwise, Jesus never gave any type of materials. Jesus never gave any type of materials. Jesus never gave any type of materials in the planet. And all that Jesus ever gave you is the Bible. And that's more than enough to teach you how to grow in eternity. Because that's what's spiritual. And that's something that you cannot touch. Although anything that somebody gives you where they can touch it, or you can touch it, those people are materialistic. So I had this woman who came up to me and got me a book. She got me a book that I can touch. Although understand, that book is full of wisdom. And now I like that present because it has something to teach me. I love the present. And it's a great book, The Happiness Project. You understand? And I read the book. Understand it's about Jesus Christ. Although understand that no matter what, that every single book is about Jesus Christ. Because why? Because information. And now information is spiritual. And the more information you have in life, the more you can feel like Jesus. And the more you can love themselves. And the more you can love yourself. So understand that you be the individual who understands who materialistic people are and who is spiritual. And now in the crowd around me, I realize I'm the most spiritual. I realize from the 50,000 people and more that have been around me in life, I'm the most spiritual. And how is that possible? Because I have over 700 hours of videos teaching you something. And they have not even started. You understand? I also have over 15,000 photos on my Instagram. And they have hundreds. Why? I have 15,000 more photos than them of myself. Which means I'm more spiritual because I love myself more than them. And I'm showing that every single day. You understand? And then somebody asked me on Instagram, how do you do all this? In terms of how do you post 100 photos of yourself every single day on Instagram? And how do you post 60 photos of yourself every single day on Instagram? Because it sounds simple. And it's simple. Because it's really simple to do it. Although what they don't see is the mega drive I have. I have an online storage where I upload everything online. And then I choose 60 photos. I download it into my phone. I make 3 posts. I post them up online in terms of my Instagram. And then I download another 60 photos. And I post another 3 photos in terms of another 30 photos. And then from 120 photos that I downloaded, I make sure to upload 100 photos into Instagram. And then what I do is I label 10 photos into each album. And then I go first post, 10 photos, I upload it online. And then I go into the second post, I upload the second bunch. And then the third bunch I upload because I have to upload a 10, lots of 10. In terms of, you understand? I have to upload 10 lots of 10. Or 10 lots. Or 10 times to reach 100 inside of Instagram. Because Instagram only allows you to upload 10 photos at a time into Instagram stories. So I make 10 albums with 10 lots of 10. Or 10 photos within 10 albums. And then I upload like that because it keeps me on point. And it keeps me in orderly manner. To understand in orderly manner where I understand that this is where I'm up to. I just say I1 and then I6 is where I'm up to. I upload this bunch now. Because otherwise, if you're not organized and you have 100 photos, and then you have to scroll down to see exactly which photo are you up to so that you can upload 10 photos. Whereas now, I rather organize it this way of 10 lots of 10 albums so that I can never ever go and see and go backwards to upload the same photo I just did before because it's not in order now. Understand? So it's much better for you to have 10 lots of 10 albums ready and then just name them I1 and I2 and I3, I4, I5 and then just upload like that. Because when you upload I2 or I4 lots, in terms of the I4, you upload that one and then I5 is much easier to find the photo of where to begin to start uploading the next set of photos. You get? Because if you don't have the nice beautiful structure there, otherwise it's all going to be bunched up together. And then you have to scroll into the album all the way down to find exactly which photos, because then you have to focus on the actual photos and how you actually posed. And then you have to find that exact photo to be able to post the next 10 photos. Although what I do is I bunch up 100 photos in 10 albums, and they have 10 photos each. And then I realize I upload lot 3 is up, and then I just understand that it's lot 4. I just go and upload lot 4, and then lot 5, and then lot 6. And I don't have to go into the phone to scroll and find that photo, which is the next photo from the previous one, because it has no structure that way. So understand that when I have more structure, I make 10 lots of 10, and then I just upload I1 and I2 and I3 and I4, and understand 10 photos are going up each and every single time. I just remember the I1, I2, I3, I4, I5, and that's that. Otherwise, it's really easy. Although understand this, that since I gave you this information, otherwise on Instagram now, I have over 15,000 photos. And understand that no matter what, that with that, you have to understand that what's going on really is understand that those people who don't have Mega Drive, for example, or an online storage, realize they have to do it through a laptop. And now if you have to go on the laptop to upload 10,000 photos, you're going to have a really difficult time. Understand? Because you then have to get the USB, which is you have to get an external USB. And then you have to put your photos on there. Or you have to go and grab a camera that has all these photos. Or, for example, a phone has a camera, for example. And then you go and you have a photo shoot and you have 1,000 photos. And now you may go to the laptop and get yourself a USB and post all the photos from your phone into your laptop first and then into your USB, for example. Although I just go take 1,000 photos and I post it up into my online storage, and I don't even need a laptop or a USB. Although I never lose my photos and my content because it's up online already. Although you may lose the actual USB that you have 50 million photos on it. You may actually lose it. And if you lose that, I mean, you're screwed then. Although you're not screwed because you have an online storage, you understand? And understand that you may understand that if you leave 50 terabytes of your life on the laptop and it burns, or as the laptop goes and burns somewhere or it falls into the water, your 50 terabytes is gone of your information. And that's why I have an online storage, understand? Because you never know that thieves can come and steal your laptop and your phone. Although they can never steal my Mega Drive, which is my online key. And that key is only for me. And I have it stored. And I lock up my phones with passwords galore. And you can never even get to my Mega Drive. Because it has 1 terabyte of information now. And that can never be lost because it's online somewhere. Although if I have a USB and a laptop, which I do, I realize that I never put it there because that can be lost. I realize it can be stolen. I realize it can get broken. So I put it online. And now understand this, that it's so much more difficult to upload 1,000 photos into your laptop first. Understand? I realize you have to get it off your phone first. You have to get all the content off your phone. So the way I do it is I upload all my content that I may have. I may have 50 gigabytes of information inside of my phone. And I have 120 gigabytes of storage in my phone. Although 50 gigabytes is used up by the content I did today. So where do I upload it? I upload it straight from my phone up online. And then I delete it from my phone. And now I have 120 gigabytes of free storage space inside my phone. And now I can go and do another day worth of content and make another 50 gigabytes of content for just my phone for something greater. And I don't do it for my phone. I can make 50 gigabytes again of content and just upload it on the same day online. Although you are going to have a much difficult time to do it through a laptop and a USB. And now if you go that way, you understand that now you have to upload 50 gigabytes of information into your laptop. And then you obviously have to get a laptop that can store that much content. Although if you get a nice beautiful laptop that has 120 gigabytes, you also have the equivalent of my Samsung A51 Galaxy, which has 120 gigabytes of storage space. And now my Samsung Livono, in terms of my Livono laptop Windows right now, which is a Windows 10, has 120 gigabytes. Whereas this one here has 250 gigabytes. Although I understand that this one here, for example, I realize that if you put 150 gigabytes into it, whereas you have to start removing that content from the laptop, because otherwise the laptop starts to lag with the content inside of it. So you have to remove it from the laptop also. And then you have to put it into an external hard drive or a USB. And then you have to keep that USB and hard drive safe. And you also have to go and organize all the files inside of that external drive, and USB. So in the mega drive, in terms of my online storage, I organize everything online already. And it's so easy to do it inside of my mega drive that I don't have to do it in a USB anymore, because I have an online storage where you cannot lose it. Understand? So understand that is how I download 100 photos or 120 photos, and then I just delete the photos from my phone once it's uploaded into my Instagram. Understand? Because what you understand that today in 2020, you understand a laptop to upload, or else to upload from a laptop 100 photos into your story takes ages. I mean, it takes 5 hours. Understand? I mean, by the time you do it on the laptop, I mean, your wife is getting angrier. Although understand that if she gets angry at you, I realize it's because she's egotistical. Although understand it's 5 hours of your life. I invest 1 hour of my life every single day to upload 100 photos into my Instagram and 60 photos into my Instagram feed. I mean, 1 hour of my life, although I'm looking at myself anyway. I'm looking at myself in that 1 hour because I'm choosing my photos. And that's called self-love. Although understand that is why Mega Drive is so important with my life, because it's an online storage and I can post beautiful journals, and that's why I write journals, because I upload it online and then you can read it every single day because it's in my journal. And it's in my Mega Drive, and I just link it I link it inside my Instagram, and you can read my journals every single day and catch up to what I give in terms of my knowledge. And then when I go and communicate, I can upload all my courses online. So these courses that you see are all in my Mega Drive as well, because it's a 1 hour video, and a 1 hour video is 4 gigabytes. And every single day I make that, I upload it online, and then I delete 50 gigabytes of content from my phone every single day. You understand? And more. You understand? Because I understand something. I understand that the more content I do about myself, the better. So do more content about yourself. Although I understand that through a laptop and USB, or else that's the old way. And the new way is just upload it or else you upload it straight from your phone. You go and upload 100 photos into Instagram of yourself every single day. You understand why I love myself so much. But they do not see that. Otherwise, most people do not see how I post 15,000 photos of myself on Instagram. Otherwise, they have 100 photos of themselves. Otherwise, I use Mega Storage Online. I use an online supplement. And an online supplement is my online storage, where I have over 500 courses. I have over 500 courses of 500 hours of videos. And it's in my online storage too. Otherwise, I have music production courses up online too. I realize it's my website. I realize I have blogs. I have my journaling, which is my blogs, and my books and everything. I have everything I ever need. I have About Me section. I have all my travel photos of where I go, and you can follow me totally in my Mega Drive. Although you just have to download it from my Instagram, and you have to get yourself the Mega Drive app, and then you have to subscribe and start your own business in that. Understand? And then you understand why I write my journals and upload it there, and why I upload all my quotes. I have over 30,000 quotes. And now 30,000 quotes can be downloaded straight into your phone. You can download all my courses straight into your phone from Mega Drive. I mean, how cool is that? And you understand that YouTube never does that either. Understand? YouTube will never allow you to download their videos, because otherwise you have to go on the laptop and go to MP4 to MP3 converter or MP4 converter, and you have to start doing it through the laptop. Although through my Mega Drive, you can download all my videos through Mega Drive right into your phone, and then you can watch them offline. You download it through free Wi-Fi, and then you have 5 hours of my videos. You watch my videos offline. You download it through free Wi-Fi, and it's amazing. You can download my music through Mega Drive. You can see all my music section and About Me, and also my self-education in terms of all my notes, and it's my life. Whereas it's all 1 terabyte and more. Although understand that 1 terabyte, I promise you, if I lose that 1 terabyte, I lose my life. Although I never lose my life. I never lose my life. I understand that I never lose my life. So understand to speak positive every single day and never say that you'll lose your life. Understand? I never lose my life. Although you understand that if you lose 1 terabyte of your content and that's all you have, you understand why you lose your life? You never lose your life in the first place, and make sure that nobody steals your content. So the best way to understand to prevent that is to have an online storage where people are never going to steal your content. And that's why I understand that those people do not understand how important this is, and to have an online storage and to organize all your files. So if you go into my Mega Drive, you understand everything's organized. I mean, you understand there's a self-education folder, and there's a music section folder, and there's about me section folder. I mean, 3 folders, and you can choose which one you want to go in. And then once you click in my music one, I realize there's 2 folders. I realize it's my music works in 2020 and my music database. You click on one of them. You go into my music works, you'll see my newest album in 2020. As you go into my music database, you'll see my 2016 album and 2020 album. As you go into my About Me section, you'll find my family and my images from 2016, and then in 2016 there's a folder. And then also in 2017 there's a folder. You understand? And now there's a folder, for example. And now in 2016, I realized that there is a folder. Whereas now I have to understand my communication has to be better. I understand that no matter what, I'm not my ego. I'm not the ego. I understand that no matter what, that in 2016, I realized there's a folder. I realized that you can see that there is a folder. And also in 2017, I see that there is a folder. I understand that when you go into my self-education program, which is my folder in my Mega Drive, you'll find also my writing materials and all my journals, and also my quotes. You can find over 30,000 quotes, and you can download 1001 quotes right now in your phone, and then you can read all of them, and then download the second course of 1001 quotes, and then download the third quote in terms of the third folder of the course 3 quotes, and that's another 1001 quotes. And now I have 30,000 quotes, although it's in 30 courses. Understand? I have 30,030 quotes and more. Understand? So realize that I realize you can download my journals and my quotes and my videos and my courses all into your folder. Although understand this, I've uploaded everything into my YouTube too. I mean, why? Because I leverage YouTube Studio, which is a nice, beautiful Google Analytics, or it's a type of analytics where I understand I can go and grab information of where are people watching my videos from. And that's it. I realize the Mega Drive doesn't do that. Although I understand that you can always find my information through Mega Drive and download it into your phone without having to download it through YouTube. I mean, how cool is that? Whereas now, if you go and watch my videos on YouTube, I mean, you may be familiar with YouTube and love YouTube, although understand that you can get my content from my Mega Drive right into your phone and never have to watch it on YouTube. You can watch it from your phone. I mean, you download it and it goes into your album in your phone. And then you see my videos. And then you just line them up. You line up 10 videos and you just watch it in your phone. And you never have to watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on a plane. You can watch it anywhere. You understand? So no matter what, I realize that YouTube does the same thing in terms of offline loading and all that. I realize that they do that. Although understand that YouTube doesn't provide you all my quotes, and doesn't provide you all my journals, and doesn't provide you all my audios. You don't even have to watch my videos. You can watch my audios. Although in YouTube, you have to download the videos only. Whereas they are only video based. I can give you my audios. I can give you my quotes. I can give you my journaling. I can give you my About Me section. I can give you my music section. You understand? So it can be downloaded into your phone with free Wi-Fi. And you never have to subscribe to YouTube anymore, because YouTube only allows you to do the online, in terms of the offline downloading, when you give them $20. And they also give you ads to watch my videos on YouTube. Although my Mega Drive never gives you ads. Although there's no ads and there's no subscription fee to watch me. Although you have to sign up through my link in terms of the Instagram to sign up, so that you understand that you can go and have 53 gigabytes of mega storage space and up to 90 gigabytes of free storage space, so that you can go and watch my videos. Otherwise, that's the whole case. Otherwise, all you have to do is just sign up to Mega Drive to watch me. And that's that. I realize there's nothing else. I realize there's no subscription fee. I realize you don't have to give me money. You understand? You don't have to give me money. Although you just have to download the application and sign up anyway. If you feel like having a Mega Drive in your life, you have to sign up anyway. So you sign up through Mega Drive and have it right away, and start downloading all my content through Mega Drive. Understand? And that's the whole point. I realize now, you have to understand that this video has gone on for 1 hour and more. I realize, although, to understand that spirituality, now you can understand that it's silence, and it's also the air you breathe, and it's also the feelings that you feel, and the sounds, and also the information that you hear in terms of life. And also, you can understand that it's the information from Jesus in terms of writing material. And what else? You have to understand that it's the images you see, and it's something that you cannot touch. Realize that is eternal life. And there's no pleasure involved. I realize in eternity, there's no food and drink. Because what eternity is total fulfillment. You have to understand, is total fulfillment. I realize that what eternity is, I see, is total fulfillment. And how is it? Because in this world, you have to eat food and drink to survive and thrive and to live. Although in eternity, you never do. You never have to eat food and drink in eternity anymore. Because how do we fulfill ourselves with Jesus Christ in eternity? Well, as God goes and puts 50 billions of images and more into your mindsets, and it's going to fulfill you forever. And all you guys are all sitting down and watching a movie, although that movie is really quickly with images. Otherwise, you're just watching images and you're just seeing this amazing amount of production of images. And it's so fulfilling, and you can watch anything in eternity. I mean, it's like a big screen. You have a big screen in eternity, and you understand that it's like a show. And guess what? I realize there is also music playing. I realize there's Avicii's music playing. I realize everybody's music's playing up there. I realize everybody's music is playing. I realize what you create in terms of your music here is up there too. You understand? I realize what you make in this world is also in heaven, in terms of eternity. So realize that you are living eternity now. Although understand that those massive festivals are happening right now in eternal life. Although they're happening in a way that nobody can touch each other. And now the big speakers are playing right now in eternity. I promise you, there are massive festivals going on in eternity right now. I promise you. I promise you that whatever artists you want to watch, you can go watch them. And you can watch them in eternity right now. And in eternity, you can watch them for infinite amount of years. You can watch them for as long as you need to. Because in eternity, I promise you, there is no ego. You can watch deadmau5, you can watch Avicii, you can watch all these beautiful artists in terms of their music. And they're making more music up there too. Because they're making more music easily. And it's a beautiful sing-along and sympathy. I realize it's a symphony and not a sympathy. I realize it's not sympathy up there. I realize it's all leadership. I realize it's all growth. I realize it's go pick a room and just go and stay there. I realize if you need to go and watch porn, you can go watch porn in eternity as well. I realize it's all full of porn over there as well. I realize as well, you have to understand, you go into the eternal room of God and you open the door, although the door's open already, and understand you go and enter this world of just porn and just watch for an infinite amount of years and you'll satisfy yourself. You just watch as many images as you want. And then you feel amazing. You feel this feeling. You feel this vibrance of all these images about how dirty people are. You understand? Otherwise, although they don't hurt you because the ego gets hurt about that. Otherwise, the ego gets hurt that other people are having sex with other people and having pleasure with other people except you. Because the ego wants pleasure. And the ego gets jealous that other people are getting pleasure and not you. Understand? So the ego gets jealous. Although understand that in order for you to overcome masturbation in terms of pleasure or any type of pleasure in the world, you change it to food and drink. And Jesus ate only food and drink. You understand? Otherwise, Jesus only ate food and drink in life. So if you ever need to overcome cigarettes and alcohol and drugs and ecstasy and medications and white sugar or anything, you turn to food. You go and mix up your food in a better way and learn about food and make sure that instead of masturbation and pleasurizing yourself with masturbation, you go and pleasurize yourself with food and drink instead. And you understand why you're going to be fulfilled with food and drink over masturbation. Because it's the same amount of pleasure. You just swap it. You swap the pleasure from sex with other people. Or as you swap the sex with other people in terms of that pleasure with the pleasure of food and drink. And then you're simplified. You simplified something. You never have to have sex with other people because you have food and drink. And you understand that food and drink will give you that pleasure. And then you understand that masturbation in terms of pornography and you watching pornography and masturbation together to have a feeling and to get the pleasure, you understand you swap that with food and drink. Although understand that the food and drink will give you the pleasure. Although the porn images will never, let's say, hurt you. Or else will never hurt you, although the ego hurts you. Or else the ego will say how that guy has a beautiful woman and not you, because that woman's giving him pleasure and not you. Because that is the ego that says that. The ego wants pleasure, not you. You don't want pleasure. You don't need pleasure. Although you need to eat food and drink to live life, because that's what Jesus done. You understand? And now, you, in terms of life, you have to understand that you're not supposed to touch people. And now, you're never supposed to do anything. You're supposed to never do anything. You're never supposed to. You understand? Because what you really must do is never touch other people. You're never supposed to touch me. You're never supposed to handshake other people. You're not supposed to do anything. You're not supposed to. Understand? You must understand to not touch other people, because that way you're going to be spiritual. You never touch the dog. I mean, let the dog touch you. I mean, let other people touch you. I mean, let them pleasurize you instead of you pleasurizing them. Because the goal is not pleasure. Or else the goal is not pleasure. Although, you have to understand that now. Since I taught you a lot, I taught you a lot in this video, well, understand that now. Since I delay gratification through this way. I understand that I go in the mirror. I masturbate to myself in the mirror. And why do I do that? Because when I masturbate to myself, I look at myself in the mirror. And there is no pleasure involved. Ever again. Whereas even when I have pleasure, in terms of I may ejaculate or something like that, or that I look at myself in the mirror and I understand why I overcame the ego. I mean, why did I overcome the ego when I look at myself? I mean, that's why. I mean, my image is so powerful that I can go and masturbate into the mirror of my image and ejaculate to my image, and I'll overcome the ego. And I become stronger. I become stronger each and every single time I do it, because I love myself. And I don't have to ejaculate to other people anymore. Because when you ejaculate to other people, you understand why you don't love yourself. Because you're ejaculating to other people and not you. You go to the mirror and you masturbate to yourself in the mirror. And you ejaculate to yourself in the mirror. And now you're going to get all these images of all these beautiful women or men that... I'm not gay, although I'm not bisexual, I'm not transsexual. I understand that. I'm just speaking in terms of the women and men out there. You understand that no matter what, I'm always inside. Although I understand you're going to get this fantasy. And then you just look at yourself and masturbate in the mirror to yourself. And then ejaculate. Although understand also to put some orgasm on that other people are having. And then watch yourself in the mirror. And masturbate and ejaculate to yourself in the mirror. And understand why you will not be ego. Or else there's no ego when you're watching yourself in the mirror. Or else there's no ego. You will automatically overcome the ego. And you'll become in eternity right away. You'll be in eternal life. Because what eternity is full of pleasure. Or else it's full of worldly pleasures as long as you're looking at yourself. Understand? Because what worldly pleasure is, by definition with Jesus, is this world's pleasure that is not you. Or else now, what is not you in life? You are everything. Although if you're not looking at yourself, you then will pleasurize yourself based on others and not you. And that's called not loving yourself. Understand? Although if you're pleasurizing yourself with worldly pleasures while looking at yourself in the mirror and being focused more upon yourself with the pleasure than other people and the outside world that you see, except your image, you understand why you love yourself even though you pleasure yourself. You understand? Because you're just focused upon you. And that's what God does. Whereas God masturbates to God in the mirror because God loves himself. Whereas now, is God himself? Whereas you don't even know whether we are he or she right now. Whereas you cannot define God. And so you cannot define what God is. You cannot define what I am. Although you cannot define that I'm a male or a man or a woman. You cannot define me. You don't know what I am. I may be a woman. You understand? You get me? Although understand that how it is in heaven, in terms of eternal life, is how it is in earth as well. Whereas what's happening in this world is also happening in eternity. Although eternity is much better in this world. Because there's no worldly pleasures in eternity. Although in this world, there is worldly pleasures. And now, if you smoke cigarettes, but just watch yourself in the mirror while you do it, you overcome cigarettes. Rosh, it's that simple. Rosh, if you go and do cocaine, and you just watch yourself in the mirror while you do it, you'll never do cocaine again. Rosh, if you smoke ice from crack, and you watch yourself in the mirror while you do it, you'll never again smoke crack. And you'll never again smoke ice. And you'll never do amphetamines and speed because you're watching yourself in the mirror. You're looking at your own image. And that's how powerful your image is. You can overcome any drug in the planet. You can overcome any food. You can go 50 days and 50 nights and more into the desert without food and drink by watching your image alone. You don't even have to go into the desert. You can do it here. You can do it now. Because no matter where you are, you can watch your image and you can delay food and drink by watching your image alone. And that's what Jesus did. Or as Jesus went to Jesus, in terms of this, or as Jesus went into the desert for 40 nights and 40 days to delay food and drink. And who was Jesus focused upon? Or else it's Jesus. Whereas now, if Jesus was focused upon other people more than Jesus while Jesus went into the desert without food and drink, or else Jesus doesn't even like himself then. And that means Jesus will die inside of that desert and never return. Because Jesus loved himself so much that Jesus went 40 days and 40 nights into the desert and survived easily. And you can do the same if you just love yourself more. Whereas Jesus walked on water in this world. You see? And you can do the same thing if you love yourself more. You understand? You can do anything that Jesus can and more. As Jesus said, although understand me now that you may have an addiction to alcohol or drugs or psychoactive drugs or pain medication or whatever it is that you're addicted to in terms of caffeine or white sugar or meat. You go and look at yourself in the mirror. You go look at yourself in the mirror while you eat the meat and while you drink the caffeine and while you drink cigarettes and coffee at the same time. Whereas if you smoke cigarettes and drink beer and coffee at the same time, you go and do it in the mirror. You will overcome everything. You overcome the cigarettes, you overcome the drugs, you overcome the medication and the pills and the Xanax. You overcome all the drugs in the world if you just do it in the mirror. And now it's much better to not do it in the mirror in terms of the drugs. You don't need the drugs, although understand to look at yourself in the mirror anyway. You understand? And now if you're addicted to outside circumstances like a food and drink, or you're addicted to something outside of you, which is caffeine or white sugar or food and drink, or for example, you're addicted to Xanax or pain medication or medication in terms of some medication, or you're addicted to illegal drugs or legal drugs in terms of alcohol and cigarettes or crocodile drug or methamphetamine or heroin, whereas you may be addicted to, or heroin in terms of maybe addicted to heroin, whereas that whatever you're addicted to in terms of drugs and illegal drugs and all those substances that I just named, whereas you go into the mirror now and you go and do it in the mirror. Whereas if you're already addicted to cigarettes and caffeine and white sugar and heroin and ice and methamphetamine and amphetamine and also speed and cocaine and ecstasy pills, you go and do it in the mirror then, if you're going to do it. And then watch yourself in the mirror and be in the mirror and watch yourself only in the mirror. I mean, just watch yourself and do not leave the room of the mirror. I mean, do not look at anything else but yourself. And then if you drift off and you start looking here instead of you over here, understand? I mean, go and look at yourself instead. I mean, don't look at that because that over here is not you. Whereas what is you is here. Whereas look at your nose. I mean, look at right here. I mean, look at your face and look at your body because the outside world is not you. Whereas what is you is your face and image of you. And what's part of you only is you. Whereas this couch is not me. Whereas what is me is my skin. And anywhere where is your skin, you look at that. Look at your hair. You look at you only. You don't look at the couch. I mean, the couch is not important. Whereas what's important is you. Understand? Whereas any particle that's living in you is what you watch. And then go and smoke the bong or weed in front of the camera or video and just watch yourself in terms of the mirror. And just watch yourself as you smoke the ice or smoke the cigarette and just keep watching yourself. And just keep watching yourself and never stop. Understand? And I don't care. I mean, go and shoot up in front of the mirror while you watch yourself and do not fall asleep. I mean, I realize heroin people fall asleep after they shoot. I realize if you're going to shoot, I realize watch yourself in the mirror and do not fall asleep. I realize do not fall asleep while you shoot something. Although realize you never shoot something. You never kill anything. Although realize that if you're going to do anything in terms of drugs or external sin, realize if you're going to do anything in terms of drugs and external sin, unless if you're going to do anything in terms of drugs and external stimulants, you look at yourself in the mirror. And that being, which is caffeine and white sugar and coffee and alcohol and cigarettes and medications and pain relievers. I mean, look at yourself in the mirror and do it. And do it forever. And you'll realize soon enough, you're going to say, fuck the heroin. I love my image more than heroin. And you're going to say, I love my image more than cigarettes. I love my image more than alcohol. You're going to say, I love my image more than caffeine and eating meat. I love my image more than other people. I love my image more than Jesus. I love my image more than everything. And then I love my image so much that because you're looking at yourself, you're going to say, I love my image so much that now I need to get bigger muscles. I love my image so much that I have to make sure that I travel the world now. I love my image so much that I make sure that I have everything. You understand? I promise you that is the only way to overcome addictions to the outside world. And it's just look at your image in the mirror. You understand? I don't care how many times you have to look in the mirror because you're smoking cigarettes. You go every single time. You go every single time and watch yourself in the mirror as you smoke cigarettes. And you're going to see your ego and how ugly your ego is. You're going to see how ugly your ego is when you're doing pain medications and caffeine and drinking coffee. And look at your teeth and just look at yourself. For 50 billion hours. Look at yourself and more. Until you quit the drugs. And then once you quit the drugs and those addictions that you have with drugs and external stimulants such as white sugar and caffeine and cigarettes and alcohol and drugs and methamphetamine and speed and cocaine and ecstasy and weed. I mean, once you quit it, you continue to look at yourself. Whereas now we're building motivation because your image is motivation. So that's why I go into the image of my food and drink and I do it in the mirror of I. You understand? And then every time I have to eat, I go in the mirror and I watch myself. I watch myself in the mirror as I eat because I overcome the food and drink right away. I overcome it right away. And I realize soon enough that I never have to eat it. I realize soon enough, I understand that I can delay it by just going into the mirror. I go into the mirror and I just watch myself. I never have to eat food and drink again. I then can outlast Jesus. With 40 days and 40 nights, I can do 1 million days with no food and drink in life. Whereas all I need to see is just my image. I just have to look at my image. I promise you, it's possible. I promise you that it's possible. I'm doing it now. I just go and look at the mirror. And now understand that no matter what, when I look at the mirror, I look at my image only. I don't look at other people's images. I love myself so much, I can overcome this world. Just like Jesus can. Because I just go and watch myself in the mirror. And now, if you're tired, for example, I realize if you're tired, you go watch yourself in the mirror before you fall asleep. And you're going to delay the sleep. Because you are much more important than sleep. Whereas if you just watch yourself in the mirror, you will never fall asleep. You will never fall asleep to your image. Your image can keep you going and keep you on a high. Understand? And if you never need to sleep, you just go and watch yourself in the mirror. I promise you never fall asleep if you love yourself. And now if you love yourself, you watch yourself in the mirror. So anytime you feel like sleeping, you just go and watch yourself in the mirror and you never fall asleep. You understand? I realize that when you wake up from sleep, you put a nice beautiful mirror beside your bed and you watch yourself and you get up right away because you're watching your ego, you're watching yourself in the mirror And then you'll find out how you're actually feeling because you're looking at yourself. And now when you look at yourself in terms of life, you understand where the ego is. I can really identify where the ego is and how the ego eats food and drink and how the ego destroys. I can see it. And then I label the ego in terms of life and where it is in terms of my face. And I'll say, that's the ego there. I can see it. I can see exactly where it is. And then I'm ahead of the ego. You understand? Whereas now, I understand that when I overcome anything, I can go in the mirror now and masturbate as much as I can in terms of pleasure, although I have to look at myself. And that way, I overcome everything because I don't become the ego in the pleasure. I don't watch other people having sex and pleasure because I watch myself. Whereas my image is much more important than other people. Understand? I can listen to other people having sex, although understand I have to go and watch myself in the mirror. Whereas now I can get my wife or woman to go down on me and to help me there and to suck me off or something like that. Although I understand that I go and watch the mirror and I watch myself while they do it. You understand? Because I'm more important. And now they may be giving me pleasure down there, although I'll be watching myself in the mirror. And I promise you, that's what boosts confidence. And it's not that you look at them while they're doing that. You don't look at them. You go watch yourself. You just grab a mirror and you just watch yourself. You just watch yourself. You just watch yourself while they're doing it. And you understand why you are more important than them. And that's called self-love. Or else it's called self-love when you watch yourself more than them. Or else if you're watching yourself more than the cigarette, you will quit the cigarette. Or else if you're watching yourself more than the meat, you will quit the meat. Or else if you're watching yourself more than food and drink, you will quit food and drink. Or else if you're watching yourself more than heroin and ice and ecstasy and pills and weed, you will quit all that. You understand? So image is powerful. Although understand that when you're having sex with other people, you go into an emotion. You be in the emotion of life. Because the more you have sex in terms of pleasures of this world, the weaker your emotions get. You understand? And that's why you find sometimes when they go in pornography and those people who have sex with all these prostitutes in terms of the women out there, you understand? Or else that those guys have massive muscles. Or else that they are really physique. And they can go and have sex with 50 million women. You understand? Because they're physical strong. I realize they're strong. Although a fat guy or fat woman to go have sex with all these people, I realize that they are unmotivated. Understand? I realize that they have no motivation anymore to even stand up out of the couch. Understand? So it's much, much more appropriate for you to go get bigger physique because you're going to be stronger emotionally to get up out of the couch. Understand? So to do that, you have to start some cardio workout. You have to start some journaling. You have to start becoming somebody right now. And you have to start listening to Jesus and spirituality every single day and watching yourself in the mirror. Because the only way to get all the physique that you ever need, I realize that no matter what habit you need to overcome, and no matter what habit you need to build, you go watch yourself in the mirror. And you will figure it out. You will figure anything out as long as you watch yourself in the mirror. You don't have to say I love you, but you say it anyway. You say I love you in the mirror. Although you don't have to say it on some days. Although just look at yourself in the mirror, and that's like I love you. Whereas if you just look at yourself in the mirror, you'll be saying I love you. And the more you say, I realize the more you just focus on your image in the mirror, you'll become stronger than ever. You'll overcome all your obstacles. You'll start traveling the world financially free. You will overcome all the drugs and all the pleasures of this world, and you'll understand who Jesus Christ is. Whereas Jesus Christ just looks like Jesus Christ. And that's called self-love. And that's called eternal life. And that's called all the pleasures of the world. Whereas all the pleasures you see out there in terms of the drugs and stimulants and medication and pain pills and all of that is I. Although I am stronger than the world. I'm stronger than everything. Because I understand that all the drugs and everything in terms of the worldly pleasures is when I look at myself in the image of I. Whereas that's all the pleasure I ever need. I just need I, because I over everything else. Understand? I'm more than a drug. I'm more than this world. Because that is what pleasure is. Whereas it's self-love. And self-love is the best drug of all. Whereas the self-drug of self-love is the best way. So to have more self-love, you look at yourself in the mirror 24/7. I mean, there's no way other than that. And that way, you will figure it out. And then get your phone out and start writing something down as you watch yourself in the mirror 24/7. I don't care about who's around you. I don't care that they have to go to the shops and they're asking you to go with you. In terms of they're asking you to go with them. You say, you go because I have something to look at. I have myself to look at. I have my face over here. I'm more important than you. You understand? You have to be more important than other people. And to do that, you have to watch your face more than other people. Because watching your face more than other people and more than Jesus and more than everything in life means greatness. And you'll be great that way. You have greatness in you to watch your face more than everything. You wash your face, you clean your face, you look nice and beautiful every single day. You just make sure to watch your face more. You understand why you overcome the world like Jesus.